Welcome to Higher Presence. I have a great show for you today. My guest is an executive coach. She has worked with multi-million-dollar businesses and bringing them to new heights and all across the country. She's a speaker, author, and she's done a number of different programs around the country teaching people how to manage the transition. Higher Presence is all about helping job seekers become job finders. So my guest today, Dee Frazier, is going to talk to us about, especially in her life, which is the transition. That's what they call it nowadays, isn't it, Deanna?
The transition, exactly right. They don't call it unemployed, they don't call it let go, they don't call it anything else but transition. It's a great word.
Yeah, it's a great word. Now, you have some extreme experience in that area. Tell me a little bit about your story where you actually owned a company that did career planning?
I did. Well, I started in the seminar business where I owned a public seminar that helped people just create a better life through behaviors, changing their behaviors. And that transitioned into a career consulting company, which I built. I had 7 offices for about 8 years. Transitioned out of there for lots of different reasons and went on the road as a consultant. Not a good idea. And I did that for about 6 years. It was a great career, no life. So it's, having balance and having a life is very important to people. And particularly now, part of what I help people do is create a life plan and talk about having balance. So I needed balance. So I became a virtual certified coach. I went to Coach U, took 2 years of studies and recreated my business again into now more, about 70% virtual, 30% workshops and seminars. So yeah, it's been interesting because the kind of people I work with are in transition, and guess what, Pat? We all are at some level at some time. There's relationship transition, career transitions, life transitions. Yes, I believe the biggest value that we have with people is to help them to understand who they are, so that when they go forward, they're going from a place of strength and not just jumping from getting a job to another job. So I do a lot of work around helping them define their personal foundation so they're really grounded in what their true values are. Now, I say that, and at the same time, I have to be cognizant some people have to have a job, and it's all about finances. If that's the case, that's what we do, and we do a whole bunch of work around getting that done as quickly as possible. If they have the time to really explore who they are and what they really want, it's wonderful. And sometimes I can do both at the same time. The first thing I try to get people to understand that they are now, regardless of what they did before, they are now an entrepreneur, because now you're selling a service. So like it or not, you're wearing a hat that's called, I'm in business for myself, and I am now the product. So it's very important that as a product, you really understand what you're selling, which are the benefits to why someone should hire you. And those benefits are based on the achievements and accomplishments you had in the past. It's not what you did, it's why it mattered with what you did. So I help people to look at what that is, and you'd be surprised, all levels, Pat, how difficult that is, because we're not used to saying every day, I made a difference in this company. It's just not how we're programmed. We go to work, we go home. We go to work, and we go home. But at the end of the day, it had to have a reason. So I really spend a lot of time helping people understand why it mattered and what they accomplished. We either make money, save money, or make someone else's life easier so they make money or save money. And once they get that, then the confidence increases and they have something real in the way of benefits. I've done it for them, I can do it for you, ask me how.
Right. So what you're saying is looking at what are the solutions that they have inside of them to the problems that the employer is looking for.
Absolutely. They're now salespeople. They're entrepreneurs and they're selling, and their product is who they are, is the service, and they now have to do the R&D on that product so that when they go forward, they know exactly who they are and why they have value. I think there are many benefits, of course, but 2 of them that comes to mind immediately when you ask that question is that we help clients get in touch with their own passion and their own true gifts. So it ties into really what they want, not what they think they have to have. That's the
so
one
it's
thing.
Passion and true gifts.
Yeah. As again, as I said earlier, it's about that personal foundation, really figuring out who you are and what it is that you really want. And usually that passion will be there. If you give yourself the opportunity to ferret it out, I do little things by having them unclutter their house and their lives, and you'd be surprised how all of a sudden the energy changes and they feel differently and they view their life and their world differently. So that's one of the things. The second thing is to really be sure that you are ready for this journey, and that's self-care. That's what are you eating, how much are you sleeping, how are you exercising, mental, physical, emotional togetherness. We've got to get buffed. We're going on a journey here. And it's not just about getting a job. It's about getting rid of the stress and finding the right job, making it a happy journey. So you have to feel good about everything that you're doing, because there will be some rejection, and sometimes that doesn't feel so good. But if you're ready for whatever's next, you can handle almost anything that comes down the pike. One of the things I'll tell you, when you just made me think of it, I wrote a book several years ago that it didn't look like it had anything to do with the kind of work that I was doing in my traditional business. It was geared towards re-entering the single world after being married. And so most people would say, what were you thinking? But I was very passionate about it. I was very excited about it because I knew there was a tremendous need. I had experienced it myself. And people were always asking me, how did you do that? How did you make fun out of dating when you're, I won't say how old, but when you're older and more mature? And I said, well, because you can. So I wrote a book. And out of that came all of this publicity and some wonderful activities, and I had a great time. Never would have happened if I didn't tap into that feeling that I could do this. This is part of my life. This is part of my message. So again, it's take a look at what you have to give to the world and go give it. Because the book isn't about how to find a date. It's how to be one, how to be a good date. And so it all goes back to, by the way, lunches, interviews, are interviews. That's all it is. Dating is interviewing. And it's just a date. So if you get rejected at a job, you want a job, then you get rejected, or you have a date and it doesn't work, just keep going on. It's no big deal. It's just another day and time. So it's all the same philosophy. Yes, absolutely.
Never thought much about dating employers. I thought that's illegal in some states, isn't it?
It's not what you want to do. It's just that it's the same concept. It's all about transitioning and not taking it so seriously. Now again, if there's a real money issue, then things have to be looked at a little differently. And I don't want to discount the fact that many clients have tremendous needs right now. And if we do that, if we have to do that, that's what we do. But at the same time, I always encourage them to build that foundation that can lead to other things later on. Yeah, one of the things, Pat, is that we have them take a look at what is the most likely place that you'll be hired based on exactly what you did. It may not be what you want to have right now, but if that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do. You have to do whatever it takes to get that. That piece has to be taken care of. It's hard to be creative and be happy and do all this wonderful thing that I described if you're hurting for money. So that has to be taken care of. So even if it's just temporary, or if it's just several temporary positions where you can take care of business at home financially and then continue to go on your quest of finding the right position. So that's really the most important. That's probably the only thing.